Another picture I made, which is I've been fairly recognized for, is I did this thing with the RUF rebels in Sierra Leone towards the end of the fighting in Sierra Leone in 2002, where I went to the towns where the rebels were still in power, and I negotiated that I could have access to their prisoners. And the rebels had killed everyone, had made children kill their parents, and all the usual horror stories with African conflict. They then had kidnapped a number of women from this village and had used them as cooks, as porters, and as sex slaves for the following 2 years. So the women that I met, they'd been with these rebels for 2 years already and were quite indoctrinated. But there was one girl who, when she was 11, had tried to escape, and the rebels had caught her and used battery acid to burn off one of her breasts and to burn her arms. And she posed for me, and when I shot her picture, she was 12 years old, but the person looking at me in that picture is not a 12-year-old girl, it's someone who's approximating an experience that, please God, I will never have, or that the vast majority of my viewing audience will never have, you know. But there's such dignity in that particular girl, that there's such, you know, amazing strength, which you don't acquire that unless you go through something dramatically traumatic. The person who looked back at me when I'm making that picture, you're examining something that you will never fully understand, but which you must dignify. So that picture has resonance for me. I was in the Ukraine earlier this year doing a piece on the fact that AIDS, HIV is accelerating faster in the Ukraine than anywhere in the world by 50, 60% at this time. So their rate of infection is massive. And I worked a lot with drug addicts and with prostitutes on this piece, sex workers. Tanya is one of 6 girls in a very small, incredibly filthy apartment in a small industrial town. All the girls are sex workers. They're all drug addicts and they're all HIV positive, and all of them are dying. Tanya was a particularly difficult example because she had been injecting into her legs for a long time and had kept doing it. She ultimately didn't have a death wish per se, but she was dying at a rapid rate. So when you make that kind of picture, one, it's not safe for you in those situations because you're surrounded by addicts and pimps. You're in there with expensive camera gear, and you're relying entirely on the good faith of these people. And it's all happening in a language that you don't speak. So I guess that picture for me of Tanya lying on her filthy bed where men still can't see her despite her condition. I think that picture for me was really about caring about nothing. Just understanding that their situation was hopeless, that it would never get better, that they were going to die, and that whatever comfort that they could derive from their addictions was okay. So that's what that picture is really about. It's nihilism to the nth degree.